Today we have 5 absolutely unhinged stories for you. First up, a sister-in-law secretly DNA tests a man's daughter and waves the results in his face, not knowing the little girl is adopted. Then, a husband bullies his wife into a home birth that goes horribly wrong, and somehow gets mad when she says he ruined it. After that, a woman sues her own cousin for $6,000 over a pool prank. Then, a husband demands a paternity test, and the wife who said, "I told you so," is somehow the villain. And finally, a guy does the Heimlich to save a choking coworker, and 2 days later gets reported to HR for it. Buckle up, because these get worse the further we go. Imagine saving a child from foster care, raising her as your own for 6 years, and then watching your future sister-in-law try to blow up your entire family over it. I, 30 male, have a daughter who's 6. I'm not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically, and were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were killed. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building, and were both killed. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents, so I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this, because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house, and my sister-in-law saw an old picture of me, my friend, and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that was Lily's mother. Sister-in-law got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married, or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My sister-in-law got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter, and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red, and she stormed off. My brother is mad I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results up to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an asshole. I don't feel like the asshole, especially considering my sister-in-law was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. I'm asking for Reddit opinions, mostly just for validation. So, was I the asshole? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "She wanted to stir some crap up. That's a hell of a lot of effort to help. Also, I'd be pissed about how she got Lily's DNA to do this." Another commenter said, "Also be ticked she revealed the truth in front of Lily. She deliberately tried to hurt a child." Yeah, the comments are not on the sister-in-law's side here. Secretly DNA testing a child and then announcing it in front of her? People were disgusted. This one sounds open and shut to me, but what do you think? So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. This next mom begged to give birth in a hospital. Her husband had other plans, and they nearly cost her everything. Hi everyone. Our daughter is now 8 weeks old. So obviously this whole argument has gone on a very, very long time. We both have been holding grudges, and neither of us think that we are wrong. My husband does not know I'm posting this, so I'm going to keep it as anonymous as possible. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, my husband started in immediately telling me that I should have a home birth. I really did not know why he was so adamant on it, but he was. At first, I brushed him off and told him I would think about it, because I was only 6 weeks pregnant and the birth seemed so far off. Of course, it came quickly, and My husband would literally speak over me at doctor's appointments when my doctor would ask if I had a birth plan. This caused a few arguments between us in those 39 weeks of pregnancy, but I never really changed my mind. Eventually, my husband's mother sat down and talked to me, and she told me all of the reasons why they did not want me to go to a hospital for the birth. I expressed my concerns about, safety of the baby and myself, but just like my husband, she brushed me off. I ended up telling my husband that I would take myself to the hospital when it was time and that I did not want a home birth. He acted as if he didn't hear me. We met with a doula who was also very pushy. I felt overwhelmed and not supported at all. I was 36 weeks at that point. So, when I went into labor, I was 39 weeks, and I absolutely begged my husband to take me to the hospital where my doctor is. He wouldn't. He spoke to me condescendingly and called the doula instead. I was in labor for about 3 days, active labor for around the last 22 hours. I cried the whole time. I just felt something was wrong. I was scared, and oftentimes they left me alone. The doula told me that if active pushing and labor reached 24 hours, I had to go into the hospital. I remember thinking that I could not decide which was worse, staying in labor for another 2 hours or having my baby right there. When she was finally out, I don't even remember wanting to hold her. I just remember crying out of relief. Obviously, I'm okay now, but I did not have a good experience. On my first appointment after birth with my doctor, she was very shocked I had the baby. She was concerned. I was so upset. I told my husband that he absolutely ruined it for me. I truly never want to go through that again. I hear mothers say that they forget all the pain the second they have the baby, but I didn't. I love my daughter so much, but it was horrible, and it was entirely his fault. So I told him that several times. He rolls his eyes every time and tells me how mothers are strong and how I am not trying to be strong. I told him that if we ever have another baby, which he wants, that I will never do a home birth ever again. His response is, "We'll see." I cannot possibly be TA here, can I? Everyone around me is acting like this is so normal, but it's not. Is it? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "This man and his family are a clear danger to you and your child." Another commenter said, "Call the police. Report everyone. Take the baby and leave." The comments blew right past asshole and went straight to call the police. Almost everyone agreed she was failed in the worst possible way. But I want to hear your take. Drop it below. What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments. Our third poster spent $6,000 on hearing aids and then watched her cousin destroy them with a single hilarious prank. My family is all on my cousin's side for this issue, and I wanted some outside judgment. My cousin, 25 male, has always been the golden child of our generation. He's funny, good-looking, and outgoing, not to mention a boy amongst girls. He's always loved to mess around and play pranks. For the record, I really dislike this cousin. I think he's irresponsible, childish, and annoying. I have had hearing problems for years. I recently got a $6,000 pair of hearing aids. Recently at my grandmother's birthday party, we were all eating and drinking on the back porch. My grandmother has a pool. My cousin decided he was going to throw me in the pool because it would be funny to ruin my hair that I just got done that day. I repeatedly told him to stop and put me down in a very serious and not playful at all tone. He threw me in the pool, and my hearing aids were ruined. Afterwards, when I told him what happened, he basically said, "Whoops, didn't know you had hearing aids now." When I told him the cost of them and that he would have to replace them, he freaked out and said no way. My family didn't want to make him pay for them because I significantly out-earned him and also everyone else in the family. He was in college at the time, barely making ends meet in a call center job. His girlfriend and him have a baby, and they live in a one-bedroom apartment. He refused to pay, so I took him to court. I won. He refused to make the payments after, so I took him back to court, and his wages are now being garnished for the maximum amount, which is 20% of his total wages. It pushed him over the edge of what he could afford, so he's had to work extra and drop out of college to be able to pay their rent. My family is absolutely fuming at me. I think he made one bad choice after the other, and he has never given a sincere apology during this whole ordeal. Had he gave a real apology after the incident and asked if he could wait till he finished school to pay me back, I would have been fine with it. But the entitled little prick is digging his feet in at every move. Am I the asshole? The only reason I could see me maybe being the asshole is because it's affecting his child and girlfriend. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "A man fixes what he breaks. It's basic eggshell skull theory." Another commenter said, "And his family could step up and throw the money his way at any time." This one's interesting. Most people said it's simple. He broke them, he buys them. End of story. The comments were firmly on the poster's side. But do you agree? Or did the wage garnishment go a step too far? Let me know. If you're enjoying these stories so far, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more. This husband took one look at his newborn's blonde hair and blue eyes and immediately accused his wife of cheating. You can probably guess how the test went. I, 27 female, have been married my husband, 28 male, for 2 years and gave birth to our daughter 5 weeks ago. I'll try to keep this short so I don't waste your time with any irrelevant details. What happened was that our daughter came out with blonde hair and pale blue eyes, while my husband and I have brown hair and brown eyes. My husband freaked out at this and refused to listen to my explanation that sometimes babies are born with lighter hair and eyes that get darker over time. He demanded a paternity test and threatened to divorce me if I didn't comply. So I did. After my daughter and I got home from the hospital, my husband went to stay at his parents' house for the first 3 weeks to get some space from me, while I recovered and he told them what was happening. My mother-in-law called and informed me that if the paternity test revealed that the child wasn't his, she would do anything within her power to make sure that I was taken to the cleaners during the divorce. I had my sister to lean on and help me take care of the baby during this. We got the results back yesterday, and my husband came home to view them with me. I was on the couch in the living room, so he sat next to me and we started to read the results. They showed that he was the father, and my husband had this shocked, kind of mortified look on his face with his eyes wide as he stared at it. I couldn't help but say, "I told you so," and started laughing at the way he looked. My husband snapped out of his shock and got mad at me for laughing at him. We argued for a bit, which was mainly him yelling at me, before my sister came downstairs and my husband shut up. After that, my husband went back to his parents' house to clear his head, and 2-3 hours later, my mother-in-law called to scold me about laughing in my husband's face, because apparently it was kicking him while he was down. She's also left a couple nasty texts, essentially saying the same thing this morning. I don't think I'm an AH, but I'd like outsider perspective on this. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "So he was down by finding out that he was mistaken and you didn't actually get pregnant with someone else's child? Tough luck, fella. He owes you a massive apology." Or 3. Another commenter said, "The fact he didn't grovel and apologize profusely, but instead yelled at her because he's a moron, is just too much." The comments had zero sympathy for the husband on this one. He demanded the test, he got humbled, and then he got mad. People were not having it. But what's your verdict? So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. And finally, a guy saves a co-worker's life with a Heimlich maneuver, and 2 days later, HR calls him in. I'm a quiet guy and genuinely friendly. I treat all my co-workers as friends. About 2 months ago during a work lunch, one of my co-workers started choking, so I did the Heimlich thing to help her. After she's in the clear, the others cheered. I asked if she all right. She just nodded and headed to the bathroom without a word, so I didn't think much about that. Until 2 days later, I got called into HR for my inappropriate behavior. I was confused and asked for more details. That's when they told me that my coworker had filed a complaint stating that she felt my touches when I was helping her was inappropriate. My body was too close, and she felt my private touching her. I gave my statement, and they put me on ice. I was still working with potential to be removed, while they investigate further. After a week, I was in the clear. I returned to working normally without fear, but I started distancing myself from the coworker. She tried to apologize, which I accepted, and tried to explain that she has to tell me that she has trauma, but I still take precautions and only treat her as just colleague. I'm no longer talk to her unless needed to, always keeping distance, no longer inviting her out unless there are others. She could feel my hesitant toward her and how no longer treat her the same as others. She tried to say that I'm being ridiculous and petty, but I told her that I'm just looking after myself. So am I the ah? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "You have to avoid her now. That's the answer. You weren't fired this time, but she has the power to get you fired, and you do not sacrifice yourself in this situation." Another commenter said, "Accusing someone falsely of SA is no joke, and she expects things to remain the same. An apology doesn't cut it. Stay far away." The comments were basically unanimous. Protect yourself. A false accusation like that is no joke, and an apology doesn't undo it. Sounds clear-cut to me, but if you see it differently, tell me in the comments. What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments. And that's 5 wild ones in the books. From secret DNA tests to courtroom pool pranks, these families do not quit. Now it's your turn. Which story had you the most heated, and did Reddit get the verdicts right? Drop your takes down in the comments. I read every single one. I've got plenty more unhinged stories on the way, so I'll catch you in the next one.